Hey everybody, this video is called You Better Lay It Down, and I want to look at an issue that many of us struggle with, and even in myself in the past, and it's pride. And I want to read from 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verses 1 through 15 to start. It says, Then all the people of Judah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the room of his father Amaziah. He built a loth and restored it to Judah. After that, the king slept with his fathers. 16 years old was Uzziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was also Zechariah of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah did. And he sought God in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of God. And as long as he sought the Lord, God made him prosper. And he went forth and warred against the Philistines, brake down the wall of Gath, and the wall of Jabneh, and the wall of Ashdod, and built cities about Ashdod and among the Philistines. And God helped him against the Philistines and against the Arabians that dwelt in Gurbaal and in Mahunim. And the Ammonites gave gifts to Uzziah, and his name spread abroad, even to enter an inn of Egypt, for he strengthened himself exceedingly. Moreover, Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate, and at the valley gate, and at the turn end of the wall, and fortified them. And he built towers in the desert, and digged many wells, for he had much cattle, both in low country and in the plains, husbandmen, also in vine dressers in the mountains and in Carmel, for he loved husbandry. Moreover, Uzziah had a host of fighting men that went out to war by bands, according to the number of their account, by the hand of Jael the scribe, and Messiah the ruler, under the hand of Hananiah, one of the king's captains. The whole number of the chiefs of the fathers of the mighty men of valor were 2,600. And under the hand was an army of 300,000 and 7,500 that made war with mighty power to help the king against the enemy. And Uzziah prepared for them throughout all the host shields and spears and helmets and habergeons and bows and slings to cast stones. And he made in Jerusalem engines invented by a cunning man to be on the towers and upon the bulwarks, to shoot arrows and great stones withal. And his name spread far abroad, for he was marvelously helped till he was strong. So today we read about King Uzziah. He was just 16 years old when he became king, following his dad, who was king before, Amaziah. And he pleased God just like his dad did. He had a good foundation as his dad obeyed God. And Uzziah also had Zechariah as a mentor who encouraged him to fear God. And God granted him success for as long as he sought God. And the following verses shows that great success that Uzziah had in the wars and conquering the Philistines. We see that Uzziah had a great support channel. He had a great army of men and leadership. I want to read verses 16 through 21. And this is where the story starts going downhill. Verse 16. But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction. For he transgressed against the Lord his God, and went into the temple of the Lord to burn incense upon the altar of incense. And Azariah the priest went in after him, and with him 80 priests of the Lord that were valiant men. And they withstood Uzziah the king, and said unto him, It appertaineth not unto thee, Uzziah, to burn incense unto the Lord, but to the priests, the sons of Aaron, that are consecrated to burn incense. Go out of the sanctuary, for thou hast trespassed. Neither shall it be for thine honor from the Lord God. Then Uzziah was wrought and had a censer in his hand to burn incense, and while he was wrought of the priests, the leprosy even rose up in his forehead before the priest in the house of the Lord, from beside the incense altar. And Azariah the chief priest and all the priests looked upon him, and behold, he was leprous in his forehead. And they thrust him out of the fence. Yah himself hasted also to go out, because the Lord had smitten him. And Uzziah the king was a leper until the day of his death, and dwelt in a several house, being a leper, for he was cut off from the house of the Lord. And Jotham his son was over the king's house, judging the people of the land. So unfortunately, we get the bad news here. Uzziah became full of pride as he grew in power, and that led to his fall. And Uzziah stepped into a calling that he wasn't called for. Uzziah was confronted by Azariah and many other brave priests, warning him, that, hey, you're overstepping your boundaries. And, they told him to get out. And Uzziah got mad, and God struck him with leprosy for the rest of his life. And his son Jotham assumed kingship. And just likewise, what we can gather out of this is we need to depend on God for all the things at all times. And if God isn't getting praise for your success, you're walking in pride. And I want to go over Proverbs 16:18. It tells us that pride goes before destruction and haughtiness before a fall. And we could see Uzziah took part of that proverb. And I want to read James chapter 4, verse 6 through 10. James 4, verse 6 through 10 says, But he giveth more grace, wherefore he saith, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. And I just want to end with a last note, we need to pray, that God shows us where we have pride, and to help us, so that we don't fall and become an embarrassment. I just want to thank you for the 8 minutes, and, if you struggle with pride and you want prayer, send me a message and let me know. Have a good night.